My parents cut me off because I refused to raise my brother's baby. I read it. I don't even know where to start, except that my therapist keeps telling me to write it all out, and maybe it's time someone else hears it too. It's been a year since everything came crashing down with my family, and even though I've started rebuilding my life, I don't think I'll ever fully heal from what they did. Maybe if I write it all out, I'll understand it better myself. So here goes. I, 29F, am the middle child in a family of 3. I have an older sister, Emily, 32, and a younger brother, Jason, 26. Growing up, our family looked picture perfect from the outside. 2 working parents, a nice home, vacations once a year, matching Christmas pajamas, the whole deal. But like so many families that perform happiness, the rot was inside. My sister Emily and I were polar opposites. She was always academically focused, incredibly intelligent and independent. She moved out at 18, got a scholarship, and basically emancipated herself emotionally the day she left. Looking back, I think she saw the dysfunction before either of us did. We still talk, but we were never super close. I was the peacekeeper, the quiet one who held everything together, the one who made excuses when Mom exploded, the one who stayed home to help out, the dependable one. Jason, on the other hand, was the golden boy, charming, rebellious, and irresponsible. He got into fights at school, crashed 2 cars before 21, dropped out of college after 2 semesters, and still somehow was just figuring things out in our parents' eyes. There was always an excuse for him. He's just sensitive. He's under pressure. He's a boy. Boys are different. I learned early on that love in my family wasn't unconditional. It was transactional, and my role was to give. About 1.5 years ago, Jason got a girl pregnant. Her name was Haley. She was 24, worked at a bakery downtown, and from everything I could tell, a genuinely sweet person. They had been dating on and off for less than 6 months when she told him she was pregnant. Jason freaked out. He told her it wasn't his. Then he told her to get an abortion. When she refused, he ghosted her, just vanished. Haley tried to get in touch with my family. She called my parents, messaged me on Facebook, even reached out to Emily. She wasn't asking for money. She just wanted Jason to take some responsibility, even a conversation. Our mom ignored her. My dad blocked her. Jason told everyone she was crazy. I was the only one who met with her. I felt awful. She showed me screenshots of their texts, pictures. She even showed me a positive paternity test later on. Jason was 100% the father. Still, my parents acted like it wasn't real. Women lie. My dad said once over dinner, "She's trying to trap him." That was when something shifted in me. I remember sitting there across the table, hearing those words come out his mouth, and realizing they're never going to hold him accountable. Ever. The baby arrives. 9 months passed. Haley gave birth to a baby girl, Ava. She texted me a picture when Ava was born. She looked so much like Jason. It was uncanny. Same deep brown eyes. Same curly hair. Same little frown he used to make when he was hungry. I cried looking at that photo. It broke something in me. I went to see Haley and Ava a few weeks later. Brought diapers, formula, and some baby clothes I could afford. Haley looked exhausted, but grateful. We sat on her couch while Ava slept in her arms, and she told me everything she'd been through. Morning sickness alone, working up until the week she gave birth, the panic attacks. She'd filed for child support, but Jason hadn't responded to anything. My parents had paid a lawyer to help him dodge it. That made me physically ill. Here's where the real betrayal started. 3 months after Ava was born, I got a call from my mom. She asked me to come over for dinner. Said it was important. I should have known something was up because they never invited just me. Usually it was a group thing. When I got there, Jason was already sitting at the table, looking hungover. My dad had poured him a beer. My mom was overly chipper, the way she gets when she's about to say something awful and try to pass it off as good news. "Sweetheart," she began, "we've been talking, and we think we have a solution for this situation with Haley." I blinked. "A solution? We think you should take the baby." I laughed. I thought it was a joke. They were dead serious. Jason looked uncomfortable. He mumbled something about not being ready for fatherhood. My dad said, "It would be best for the baby to stay in the family, and you've always been so good with kids." I was stunned. They wanted me to take custody of Ava, raise her. Legally or not, they didn't care. They wanted me to step in as her mother figure, so Jason wouldn't have to. I asked them if Jason planned to have any involvement. "No, he's not ready," my mom said, "but we know you could give her a good life, and this way we avoid any ugly legal messes." I stared at them, waiting for someone to admit this was insane. No one did. I said no. Immediately, forcefully, clearly. Absolutely not. She's not my child. Jason needs to step up. They got angry. My mom accused me of being selfish. My dad said I was choosing a stranger over my own blood. Jason sat there in silence, not even meeting my eyes. I left. From that moment on, everything changed. They started calling me daily, then texting when I wouldn't answer. My mom begged. My dad threatened. Jason sent one message: "You're making this harder than it needs to be." I blocked them all. A week later, I found out they'd contacted my landlord. My mom tried to offer him money to break my lease, so I'd come home and reconsider. Thankfully, he told me, and I started the process of moving out entirely. Changed my number. Took a leave of absence from work. The stress was destroying me. Haley and I grew closer through this. Ironically, she apologized for everything, even though none of it was her fault. She offered to write a formal statement that I had no connection to Ava, in case my parents tried something legal. We became each other's lifeline, in a weird way. The cutoff, then came the final blow. About a month after I moved and changed all my contact info, I got a letter in the mail. It was typed, signed by both my parents, and cold as ice. "As you made it clear you are unwilling to support this family in a time of need, we are choosing to cut off all financial and emotional support going forward. You will not be included in future family matters. Consider this the consequence of turning your back on blood." They disowned me. There was no inheritance waiting, no trust fund to be revoked. I never expected anything from them, but the word still stung. Future family matters. Like I was a business associate they were cutting off. I cried for 3 days straight. It's been a year since that letter. I'm in a better place now, mostly because I've started therapy and built a support system of actual friends who don't see love as conditional. I haven't spoken to Jason or my parents since. Emily reached out once to say she was proud of me and that I did the right thing. She doesn't talk to them either, hasn't for years. Apparently, she got the same kind of letter after she came out as queer in her early 20s. Haley and I are still in touch. Ava is walking now, babbling words, and Haley sends me videos sometimes. She calls me Andy in the clips, even though we both know I'm not. I don't know what the future holds. But I know one thing. I'm not raising someone else's child because my family refuses to grow up, and I'm not going to let their broken idea of loyalty dictate the rest of my life. I wish that letter had been the end of it. After getting disowned, there was a strange piece of my life for about 2 weeks. I started sleeping through the night again, something I hadn't done in months. I was eating actual meals, watching dumb sitcoms, going for long walks. I felt lighter. The invisible weight of being the fixer in my family had finally been lifted. But of course, in true fashion, they weren't done with me. Not even close. It started with a certified letter from a lawyer, one I didn't recognize. Inside was a cease and desist order and a packet of documents about ongoing custody concerns. The name on the paperwork was Haley's. At first, I was completely thrown off. Why would I be getting served over anything to do with her? I hadn't done anything. But buried deep in the pages was something horrifying, an affidavit from my parents claiming I had agreed to assume custody of Ava. They forged it. There was a fake statement with my signature attached, copied and pasted from a lease agreement I'd signed years ago, with my old signature scanned and dropped in. It stated I had verbally and in writing committed to parenting Ava under Jason's absence, and now was refusing to comply with agreed-upon guardianship. I nearly threw up. Thankfully, I had already built a paper trail. Emails, texts, even voicemails from my mom asking me to reconsider taking Ava. It was clear from the timeline that there had never been any agreement. I immediately contacted a lawyer, a friend of a friend who specialized in family law. She took one look at the documents and said flatly, "This is fraud. They're trying to scare you into giving in." Haley confirmed that she had never been contacted about this either. She was livid. I thought maybe we should go nuclear and file a joint suit against them, but her lawyer advised against it. "Let them implode," she said. "The more noise they make, the more credibility they lose." But I wanted revenge. I wanted them to hurt the way they had made me hurt. Still, my lawyer made a good point. Winning in court won't heal you, but peace might. So I stayed silent and documented everything. Not long after the forged affidavit mess, I heard from Emily. She rarely reaches out. Not because we're estranged, but because she's deeply private. She moved to Oregon years ago, lives with her partner, and only talks to mom and dad when absolutely necessary. She sent me a one-line message. "Just a heads up, Jason showed up here. He's not doing well." I called her immediately. She sounded tired. Apparently, Jason had driven across the country and appeared on her doorstep out of nowhere, asking for a place to crash. Emily, bless her heart, said no. She let him in, gave him dinner, and listened to him cry on her couch for 4 hours, but didn't let him stay. "He's in a bad place," she said. "Not that it excuses anything." I asked what he said about Ava. He said he doesn't think she's his. Still, even with the paternity test, called Haley a liar, said you betrayed the family. And get this, he said mom and dad offered him money to sign Ava over to you legally. When you said no, he thought you'd eventually cave. So the plan all along was to bribe Jason into disappearing and guilt me into stepping in. I don't know why that surprised me. It shouldn't have. Emily told me he was couch surfing, drinking too much, and talking about leaving the country. I felt nothing. Not pity, not rage, just a cold indifference. The kind of emotional shutdown you only reach when you've been burned too many times by the same fire. About 4 months after the forged affidavit, I made the mistake of going back home. Not permanently. Just a visit to my childhood town for a friend's engagement party. I wasn't planning to see my parents. I'd made peace with being the black sheep, but fate, as it always does, had other plans. I stopped by a local grocery store to pick up a bottle of wine, and there she was, my mother. She was standing near the deli counter, ordering cold cuts, when she turned around and locked eyes with me. Her smile froze. She looked older, more tired. Maybe it was just my own lens, but I didn't see the same woman who used to rule our house with an iron smile. We stared at each other for several seconds. She opened her mouth like she was about to say something, but I turned and walked away. I should have kept walking, should have gotten in my car and left, but she followed me out into the parking lot. "Opie," she called out. "Wait." I stopped reluctantly. She looked nervous. She started with small talk, which made my stomach twist. "You look good. Are you still in that apartment downtown?" I didn't answer. Finally, she dropped the act. I just wanted to say, I regret how things turned out. It wasn't an apology. Not really. But it was something. I stayed silent. She took a deep breath. "You know your father and I were only trying to do what was best for the family. Jason is not strong. He needs help. You've always been the strong one." There was again the old narrative, the manipulative praise, the guilt wrapped in flattery. "I'm not doing this," I said. "You lied. You forged documents. You tried to destroy my life because I wouldn't raise a child that wasn't mine." She winced but didn't deny it. Then she said something I'll never forget. "But you could have done it. You would have been so good at it." As if that made it okay. I turned and walked away. I didn't say goodbye. After that run-in, I doubled down on therapy. I didn't want to carry that bitterness anymore. I wanted to be free, not just physically, but emotionally. I learned a lot during those sessions. I learned that I was raised to be an emotional caretaker, that I was never allowed to have needs of my own because my parents were too invested in managing Jason. that my dependability was actually a trauma response. That love had been conditional in our house, and I had learned to earn it by sacrificing myself. I started setting boundaries with everyone, even with Emily, who's probably the only one I still trust. I told her I didn't want updates about Jason anymore, not unless it was something urgent. She respected that. I started building a new family, friends, co-workers, even neighbors who knew me for me, not for what I could give. I joined a book club. I adopted a dog. I started dating again, slowly, with caution, and I stayed in touch with Haley. About a year after Ava was born, Haley invited me to her birthday party. It was small, just a few close friends, some cupcakes, and a balloon arch that Haley's sister had put together. Ava was toddling around, trying to grab frosting off plates. She wore a little sunflower dress and had the most contagious laugh. Haley came over and handed me a photo album. Inside were pictures of Ava, of her first steps, of her sleeping on Haley's chest, of drawings Haley had made while pregnant. There were a few photos I'd sent her, care packages, cards, silly stickers I mailed when I couldn't visit. There was a note on the inside cover. Thank you for being the one person who showed up. I don't think I would have survived this year without you. I cried, not just because it was touching, but because, for the first time in a long time, I felt like someone saw me. Not as a fixer, not as a babysitter, not as a fallback plan. Just me, the message from Jason. Last month, I got a message from an unknown number. It was short. Just this: I messed up. I'm sorry. I get it now. No name. No details. But I knew who it was. I didn't respond. Maybe he's finally realizing what he lost. Or maybe he wants something again. It doesn't matter. That part of my life is over. Where I stand now, it's been over a year since I cut ties with my parents and Jason, and I've learned that healing isn't a straight line. Some days I miss the idea of family. I miss the comfort of belonging. The holidays are the hardest, but every day I stay away is a day I choose myself. I know now that being a strong one doesn't mean carrying everyone's weight. Sometimes strength is saying no, walking away, choosing peace over performance. And if you're reading this and you're the fixer in your family too, please hear me. You don't owe them your life just because they never learned how to live theirs. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to be free.